It took me 33 years to fulfill my promise. It took me 33 years to finally honor a promise that I had made. I knew that I could not move on with my life if I were to break my promise. And I surely was not going to risk going to hell because of a broken promise. So I wrote about it. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. It's a story called The Promise. So let's get started. When I saw a blog article on the Huffington Post by that girl, I was curious. The post was titled St. Jude at 50 and a nation stamp of approval. What else did Marlo Thomas have to say, I wondered? I remember her father, Danny Thomas, as the Lebanese actor well known for his big nose, who played the dad in one of my favorite childhood TV series, Make Room for Daddy, and as the founder of St. Jude Children's Hospital. I clicked over to read the article. I learned that on February 16th, the United States Postal Service would unveil a commemorative stamp in honor of her famous father. He passed away on February 6, 1991. This year, he would have turned 100, and St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is celebrating its 50th anniversary. But the most fascinating part of her story was how her father came to build St. Jude. She tells the story like this. Dad was a struggling young nightclub comic who needed $50 to get his newborn daughter, Marlo, and his young wife, Rose Marie, out of the hospital. He only had $10. He was scared and went to church and prayed to St. Jude, the saint of hopeless causes, for a sign showing that he was on the right path and should stay in show business. Placing 7 of his $10 in the collection box, he said, I need that back times 10 tomorrow. If you give me a sign, one day I will build a shrine in your honor. The next day, Dad got a call to play a singing toothbrush in a radio commercial for $75. He had his sign. I, too, prayed to a patron saint and had my prayers answered. It was 1972, and my husband David and I were teenagers and going steady. I really wanted an Ankh necklace and most assuredly hinted about it. It was an era of peace and love and the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Ankhs were popular, and I loved the symbolism of eternal life. I was thrilled when David gave me one for a Christmas present. It was custom made and simply beautiful. Solid gold with a diamond in the middle. It was perfect. It suited my style to a T, and I wore it all the time. Then one day, I lost it. After walking down the block in front of my parents' home, I realized that my necklace was gone. I couldn't imagine how it could have fallen off of my neck. Did I not completely close the clasp? I began to retrace my steps and searched everywhere. I was afraid it was lost in the grass, never to be found. I went home. Not only was I upset and disappointed with myself for losing the necklace, I didn't relish the idea of telling David I had lost his lovely gift. Feeling helpless and desperately wanting to find my necklace, I prayed to Saint Anthony of Padua, the patron saint of lost and stolen articles. I promised to give $10 in his honor if he helped me find my Ankh. I don't remember how many days went by before I found my necklace at the end of the block, lying near the edge of the sidewalk. I cannot tell you how happy I was. My prayers had been answered. In 1973, David and I got married and started a family. Life went on, business opportunities took shape, and our family grew. Almost every day I wore my Ankh. Our 3 children grew up, and David and I had 2 more. Over the course of the years, my religious convictions changed, but I never forgot my promise to St. Anthony. One day during the period of time when David and I were preparing to move across the country to start a new life, I made a visit to St. Edward's Catholic Church. There in the quiet church that smelled of candles, I saw a gentleman who appeared to be doing light maintenance, dusting perhaps. Where can I find St. Anthony? I asked. He pointed across the pews to the back side of the church. With my little girls in tow and a $10 bill in my hand, I walked up to the statue of St. Anthony of Padua. 33 years after having my prayer answered, I placed the money in the poor box and looked up at St. Anthony. My promise had been fulfilled. My conscience had bothered me on and off all of those 33 years because of that promise that I had made to St. Anthony of Padua in helping me find my ankh. And I just could not move on to our new life in Montana without fulfilling that promise. I just couldn't break my promise. Let me know in the comments if you've ever had something that nagged you so much that you just couldn't move on until that promise was fulfilled, until that commitment was fulfilled. I hope you've enjoyed this story, and it's told you a little bit more about me and how David and I became rebel retirees. If you're looking for more typical retirement advice, I have hundreds of videos on this channel with topics on Social Security, moving, relationships, health, and so on. And please visit my website, rebelretirement.com, where you can find out more on those topics, and also Just-in-Time Retirement, which is a value-based continuous improvement lifestyle plan. By determining what you value and developing a continuous improvement mindset, you can free up your resources to fund your retirement. I will leave a link in the description to today's story, The Promise. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more outside the box retirement tips. Thanks so much for stopping by today. I hope all of you are well. I'm Marlene with Rebel Retirement, and I'll see you next time.